Hello there, it is Frankly Tarot, and today we have another hashtag Tarot FAQ, which was started by Lisa Papez over at Lisa Papez. She used to be supportive tarot, I think, and she put out this hashtag with quite some good in-depth prompts and questions. So let's start. So the first one is, what are your thoughts on illustrated minors versus pips? And I like both. When I read for clients more often and in person, I did like to use a pip deck because it kind of kept the client concentrated on the reading instead of looking at the illustration and trying to find things in the illustration. At the time, I only had one pip deck, and it's the Jonathan D deck. This is what it looks like. The backs look like. I don't know where I got this. It used to have a book with it, but that has long disappeared. And these are some of the illustrations. I guess they're maybe halfway illustrated and scenic, but I really do like the illustrative style on this. It's a little bit reminiscent. This is a little bit reminiscent of the wider weight Four of Wands. Is it Four of Wands? Well, that's Six of Wands. This is Six of Wands, but it reminds me of the wider weight Four of Wands. So yeah, I used this a lot when I read for clients in person. And so I do like it. It's Marseille-ish, but when I went to learn the Marseille, I did not find it useful. I went and bought an actual Marseille deck. Yeah, and often with the illustrated pips, especially the Rider Waite, a client can really get in the weeds. And I don't remember what the symbology of the ibis is. The ibis shows up in a number of the Rider Waite cards, and I don't know what that means. I forget. How do you feel about keywords on decks? I hate them. And I don't usually buy them. The only one I ever had with keywords was my Tarot of the Master, which I've shown a lot, and I trimmed it. And you can see on the fronts look fine. The trim, that's the devil. The fronts look fine for the trim, but on the back you can see that it's a little bit wider on one side than the other. And that's because before I trimmed it, there were keywords, there were the title in 3 or 4 languages. There was a lot going on. So I was like, no, I didn't like it. I do find keywords limiting because I might see something a little bit different in the image or have a different interpretation than what the keyword indicates. So I don't like keywords on my decks, even for learning. I don't think I would go or suggest a deck with keywords because you're going to change. Your understanding of the card is going to change and go beyond what the deck creator put as a keyword, in my humble opinion. How do you feel about borders? That depends. Some decks really do have a nice border, just sets off the artwork nicely. Doesn't interfere with the actual image or anything. And one such I feel this is my Dark Mansion deck. And as you can see, the Dark Mansion has kind of a dark feeling and just has a thin black border around it. It does also have kind of a decorative border inside, which I think can be a mixed, have a mixed effect on the card in the image. I like these cards a lot. I like this deck a lot. I don't feel like the decorative border detracts or anything like that. So for this, I do like the border. I think it works really well. What I don't like is when there's a big wide border. Sometimes it's as if just to make the card bigger. But I don't think I really have any that do that. All my other decks just have an appropriate border or are borderless. That seems to be the trend anyways, borderless. So this is the Spacious Tarot. No borders. What makes you decide to modify a deck? I've only ever modified one deck, and that was the Tarot of the Master, which we just saw. And I found it to be very tedious work and not particularly rewarding. So I don't think I'll do that again, unless I really fall in love with a deck that has a really awful border. But for the most part, I don't think I'll bother to modify or at least trim a deck. I had also started to edge it maybe a little bit, but that was I just could not sit there and edge 78 cards with 4 sides each. Couldn't do it. Okay. What kind of cardstock is your favorite? So I'm not a cardstock aficionado. Partly because I'm cheap. I prefer not to spend too much money on my deck. And the other thing is that I want to be able to shuffle it. So that's my favorite cardstock, is the kind I can shuffle. This is my Morgan Greer in a tin. So not only is the cardstock sturdy but thin, it's small, so I can shuffle it. And the other one I was thinking of is my universal weight. And that's pretty standard cardstock, I think. But I have used it for so many years. You can see it's a little bit warped. Maybe you can see it's warped. And this is, also, it's a little thicker than the Morgan Greer, but I can shuffle it. So that's my favorite cardstock. I do love the cardstock on the Dark Mansion. Is it Haunted or Dark? I don't have the box with me. But it is, it's kind of thick and velvety. And it feels great. It feels wonderful. And I'm sure that once I use it, some of the finish will wear off and it'll become a little bit easier to work with. But right now they stick together quite a bit. It's fairly thick. The deck is when all the cards are together, the deck is quite high. These organized in some kind of way, but anyway. So yeah, that's what, and also I don't expect my decks to remain pristine forever. Like that universal weight is kind of in bad shape, but I love it. Although I have been thinking that I might trim the borders on that just to give it a refresh. The borders, the edges are dingy and kind of marked up, and so I might be able to use it. Buying and backing decks. Where do you go to look for new decks when you want to buy? So I start at tarotarts.com. They have a pretty good selection. And then, the usual suspects. eBay, Etsy, the creator, or the publisher. I think I bought my Marseille straight from US Games. And then lastly, I'll go to Amazon. And what has been your best and worst Kickstarter or crowdfunding experience? I'm a little gun shy about Kickstarter or crowdfunding or putting money towards something that I'm not going to get. And part of it is because I've heard so many horror stories about working with Kickstarter and I forget what some of the others are, GoFundMe. I just haven't ever really felt confident enough to do it. I did almost back one last year. It was so gorgeous, the initial images. And then when it came out, I was disappointed by a few cards, and so I'm glad I didn't back it in the end, because I don't think I would have liked the whole deck. How much is too much to spend on a deck? Well, I don't really consider myself a deck collector. I'm not looking for the out of print or the rare or anything like that. I have a couple of decks like that, but so really I'm fine with spending the standard $25, $30 for a deck. which is pretty much what I pay for a standard Rider-Waite Smith, the my Marseilles. I think this was, let's see, how much was it? 22. The other one was 14. Some I did, like the Haunted Man or Dark Mansion, was 55 plus. Once I put all the shipping in, the Spacious Tarot was $55. And the Salsa Burrito I think was somewhere up there. Did I jot that down? No. But I'm not against. I don't mind mass market or anything like that. I bought these tins at tarotarts.com, cost about $18. When I bought this, I bought the Pixies Astounding Lenormand, and so together they were $30 or something like that. I was on the website where I got my Dark Mansion one. He's got a deck out there for almost $100, and I can't do it. I can't do it. I thought it was too poor for too long. Do you have any Dealbreaker cards? So I used to have a lot. I don't even remember what they were in the past, but nowadays it's really just the Lover's card. And what I want the Lover's card to show when it has the two figures is for them to be equal, for them to be similar. No, equal's the right word. So I don't want to see one figure have power over the other in the Lover's card. That just is not what I think the Lovers is about. So if you look at the good old Rider-Waite, these two figures are very, very similar. They're the same height, they're the same build. She may even have used the same model, I don't know. One is not overpowering or has an advantage over the other. They're both completely nude. There are decks out there where one is dressed and the other is nude. And to me, when you see art with one person, usually the woman, the female, nude, and the other person, usually the male, dressed, that indicates that the male has power. The dressed figure has more power over the nude figure in art. So I want to see that in my Lover's card. If you look at the Marseille deck, which is a different style, the Marseille style usually has the three figures. Again, they're all completely dressed in this case. They're all of almost equal height. I think this woman in the green is a little bit taller than the fellow. Might just be her hat. And there's the cherub. And the Morgan Greer deck is kind of a sexier image, which is also something I usually go for in a Lover's card. But here again, they're on equal footing. They're about the same height. They have the same body type, male, female. They're both looking at each other in the eye. This is an equal, and this situation is equal and consensual. Now, and the dark, or the haunted, Dark Mansion, the Mansion deck, I think I'll just call it the My Mansion deck. This has a Marseille style Lovers. Is it going to focus? It might not. And the male figure is a good bit taller, but again, they're all fully clothed. They're looking each other straight in the eye. I don't really feel like he has a lot of power over her as far as the image goes. It's got a Victorian-esque theme, and at that period, of course, any man would have more power than a woman. There is it's not a cherub, but it is an angel. And then I've got my Tarot the Master Lover's card. Is actually, the name of it isn't so much lover. Amore, I think, is just love. It doesn't have any lovers in it. It just has the Cupid. It just has that cherub. And then up here, where is it here? Here, it says Dolce Travaglio. And I looked that up, and what it means is something like sweet labor, or maybe labor of love. So I'm hoping I have the little white book, because I'm not really sure how to interpret this card. I don't think I would interpret it quite the same as a more standard RWS lovers. I'll have to look that up. Now I'm curious because I never noticed it, or I never retained that this was such an unusual lovers card. I should say key 6 card because it's not even named the lovers. Reading style. Do you have a daily tarot practice? I do not these days, for various reasons. I don't know why. I go back and forth. Okay. When do you read for, or if not, when do you read for yourself? And what's your go-to shuffle style? Well, I read for myself as I feel like it. And if I need to work through something, if I need to work through a problem, or if I need to gain some insight into something that's going on in my life. Reading to kind of predict the future in any way for myself, I get mixed results. And usually I'm not wondering is this or that going to happen, but my question might be, if I go along this path, is this going to be good or bad? How's this going to work out for me? And those types of readings, I get very mixed results. Reading for other people, though, it's more steady and I can get a good, accurate reading. Some so accurate and so literal that it's almost spooky. Go to riffle style. I love me a good riffle and bridge. I don't know if I'll be able to do one this morning. I think I sprained or I have something going on here. But let's see. And no bridging on this one. That was my Morgan Greer. I know you can't see it because the camera's not on it, but oh well. Next question. How do you choose what deck you're going to work with? Intuition, of course. And for self-readings, I've been sticking either with the good old Rider-Waite, my Centennial deck, or my Morgan Greer. And when I was going out more, like going to work or meeting friends or what have you, I kept this in my bag. It's just so small and handy. But this might be something I get another deck of. We'll see. I don't feel the need to have 2 copies of a deck, a backup deck, because I don't care if my deck gets beat up. I kind of like it. I feel like it's a badge of honor. Do you purchase professional readings for yourself? Yes, although it has been quite a long time since I've done so. I think I've only done it a couple of times actually in my whole life. It's because I'm such a DIY type of person. I'm like, why do I need to pay someone to do a tarot reading? I can do my own tarot reading. Why do I need to pay someone to, I don't know, why do I need to buy a sweater? I can knit my own sweater. Stuff like that. I do knit my own sweaters. Yeah, so I haven't done it for a long time. There are 1 or 2 readers out there that I think I would use if I felt the need. I do some trades sometimes. I'd like to do, or I don't mind doing a trade where I read for somebody and they read for me. But sometimes I really just want to read for somebody else. I don't feel the need for someone else, for a reading from someone else. Do you use tarot for anything other than divination? So if I'm doing some kind of magical work, I'll do a reading for the working and see what happens. And one time, some years ago, I did the reading and it was like, no, it's not going to work. This is not the right time to do that magical working. And of course, the moon was in void or some such thing. So I was like, oh, we'll put this off for a day or 2. What else? Reading for clients. How did you know you were ready to read for clients? I don't remember. When I got my first deck, a friend of mine gave me a deck and a copy of the Eden Gray tarot book. And, I read through it. I practiced on myself. I read for my roommate. I read for my sister a couple of times. Eden Gray in hand, because I didn't know what I was doing. So I think when I really gained a lot of self-confidence was when I got more involved with pagan groups, and people always had their tarot cards out all the time. So that's when I started feeling more confident for reading for other people. And I did for a while. I did read for paying clients. I've read for it at a couple of street fairs in my area. Those are fun. Do you have anything special? Do you do anything special to set up for a client reading or for yourself? Not really. I just like to have a cloth. And nowadays, I think we've seen this one before. I use this cloth that I made, glittery. So I just use a cloth. I don't like to have a lot of candles or crystals or stones or anything around. In my experience, I just knock those things down. They just get knocked over. So as long as I've got space to do a good reading and a cloth, a clean open table, I'm good to go. Do you let your client handle your cards? Yes. It's been a long time since I've done in-person readings, but I do like the client to be able to handle the cards. What I found when I was doing in-person readings is that if I gave the client the deck and said something like shuffle until you feel ready, or tell me when to stop shuffling, it would go on. We would be shuffling for quite a long time. I think part of that is because it's very kind of calming and comforting to just shuffle cards. So what I usually do is I'll give them some specific instructions. Cut the deck into 3 and restack, or shuffle 5 times, or something like that. And that works out. Yeah, but I do let my clients handle my cards. I don't mind. Are there any questions you would refuse to answer for a client? I will not answer adultery questions. I have a problem with it. And I don't mind answering medical questions or health related questions, although I wouldn't agree to a direct question like, am I pregnant, or do I have cancer, or something like that. I think that for a tarot reader, if you're going to a tarot reader for health questions or money or legal questions, the best use of your time and their time is to kind of gain some insight on your approach and your attitude and the things you need around you to be successful. I'm definitely not giving out medical, legal, or financial advice through the tarot cards. Let's see. Do you have any advice for people who want to start reading professionally? Be sure you know the tarot cards. Don't. I kind of have a problem with people who have been reading. They have their first deck, they've read through their first book, and now they're going to charge money for this service that they're not really qualified to give. So be sure you know your cards. And charge what you're worth. Whatever your time is worth. Whatever your reading is worth. I don't know what... when I was reading for paying clients, my preference was parties. I love doing parties because you can ask for a good chunk of money up front, and you're not sitting down for, you're not getting paid, $10 for a Celtic cross reading that's 30 minutes long. That's not worth my time. And the last thing is don't expect to get rich reading tarot cards. I think if you're going to get rich reading tarot cards, you need some high profile celebrity client or two, like an anchor client or two that's, relying on you and tipping you out thousands of dollars for every reading or something, which I would actually do. I would love to have a high profile celebrity client who came to me every couple of weeks and said, here's my, here's the reading. So those are all the prompts. How long have we been going here? Does this tell me? Yeah. And yeah, those are the prompts. This has been a great tag. Thank you, Lisa, for doing this tag. I haven't really looked at too many of the other responses, but I think I will, because I think this is going to result in some good, meaty tarot videos. So that is the Tarot FAQ by moi, Frankly Tarot, and I hope you enjoyed it. So we'll get together again sometime soon. Bye.